I know and I understand the reasons why we moved public comment on non-agenda items to the end of the meeting. And I understand the value of that, but I have a difficult time sitting here knowing members of the public are waiting until midnight to speak. And so I would like that new subcommittee to look at that see if there are other solutions that we can offer that other cities can do so that people in the public, people who have kids, people who work, don't have to wait till midnight to give their public comment.
Yes, thank you.
Too bad I'm not on that ad hoc subcommittee.
I think that's a good solution.
Thank you.
It's a really good solution, too. Okay. With that, we will go to...
So, Mr. Mayor, you are appointing those two
Yes.
subcommittees, one being Code of Conduct and the other being Procedures and Policies.
Okay, next item is public comment. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the City Council on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. Although the City Council values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 2 minutes will be assigned to each speaker. We have 5 speakers. The first speaker will be Theodore Gruya, then H.H. Stravelli, then Joyce Kane and, it's truncated, Joyce Kane and Jason's someone, then Daryl Terrell, then Ruth Deborah.
It looks like the first speaker is no longer here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, H.H. Stravelli. Is H.H. Stravelli here? Okay, Jocelyn Kane. See, there is some advantage to having this at the end. Daryl Terrell. He's always here. So,
Daryl, you have great endurance.
Andy lives in Moreno Valley. He has to drive.
I don't mind. Come to see you good people. I don't mind. My name is Daryl Terrell. I'm from Moreno Valley.
thank you, Mr. Terrell. Next speaker is Ruth Deborah, then followed by Sid Craig.
Thank you for this time, Mr. Mayor and City Council and staff. I've been to a lot of rallies. I've lived here almost 15 years. This summer will be 15 years. And I've been to a lot of rallies here and have organized quite a few of them. I probably have been to about 90% of what's happened in the city. I went on March 24th to the Rally for Our Lives. These young people did what none of us old people could do, and they organized one heck of a day. Our mayor was not there. Our mayor also refused to sign the proclamation in support of what these young people did. These people are the future of our city, and I was so disappointed in our mayor for not signing that proclamation. I've been disappointed in you before, Mr. Mayor. Some of your votes against the Paris Climate Accord, you voted against the Non-Discrimination Act before you voted for it, you voted against the well in the desert before you voted for it, etc. But this really was the icing on the cake. I think that you're supposed to be here to represent the entire city, not just to appease your vanity with one photo op after another. I really call for your resignation at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah. You know, there's a thing called a point of personal privilege, which can be exercised by a council member when his integrity, character, or motives are assailed, questioned, or impugned. And I'm calling for a point of personal privilege on this, although we don't usually respond to people making public comments. I'd like to point out that this is a nonpartisan position that we're in. We don't run as Democrats or Republicans. However, I'm very proud that I am a lifelong Democrat. I am a long-term active member of the Democrats of the Desert. I'm a long-term active member of the Democratic Women of the Desert. I belong to Stonewall Democrat, and I go to that whenever I can, but it's on a Thursday night, so it can be difficult to go to. I was one of 3 elected delegates to the Democratic National Convention for Hillary Clinton. I went to Philadelphia at my own expense to represent our district as a very avid Hillary Clinton supporter. And I would also like to point out that I'm being attacked here for something, not something I said or something I did, but something I chose not to do. I would point out that there was a courageous resistance rally that afternoon at 3 o'clock in the park, which I did go to. I did not go to the one in the morning, and that was my personal choice to do that. However, what Ms. Deborah probably doesn't know is if you go online to everytown.org/mayors, you will see that there is a page there where it lists every mayor in the United States. There's 50 in California who have personally, as the mayor, not as the council, as the mayor, have signed up as mayors against illegal guns. And I have the proclamation here with me. I won't read it, but it goes into punishment for people who break the law on possess, use, traffic, or illegal guns. I am a supporter of that. I have been. Although I don't use my position to be an activist. I respect people like Ruth Deborah who have spent their entire life as an activist, but I am not. I also, if you go online to Mayors Against LGBT Discrimination, I am also a signatory to that. So personally, I have, without talking about it on Facebook or talking about it here, I have signed up on those as a mayor representing my position on LGBT discrimination, which is recently we've been doing work on transgender discrimination, and I have signed up on my opposition of illegal guns. But I will not use this position here that I was elected to make political statements because that's not my job. My job is, I see my job is to worry about the budget, to worry about streets, to worry about our infrastructure, to worry about running our city. We have people in Sacramento and we have people in Washington, D.C. to handle these bigger issues. And we also have dedicated activists such as Ms. Deborah who are out there leading demonstrations. And if I decide not to go to a demonstration, that is my personal choice. And also, I'd like to point out that Richard Noble wrote that proclamation. It was stated out in front of City Hall that the City Council had approved a proclamation which the mayor refused to sign. That was a lie. And that is the point in which 500 people, I'm told, started yelling, vote him out, vote him out. That was a lie. It was all based on a lie. That did not happen. And when I declined to sign that proclamation, because I don't sign proclamations that was a political demonstration, I'm sorry, I felt it was. When I don't sign a proclamation for a political issue like that, Mr. Noble, who is a frequent flyer at this public speaker position, he could have come to the council the next day, he knows how to do it, and spoke to the entire council and gotten a sense of the council. And if the sense of the council had been, we should sign it as a council, I would have been happy to sign it as a representative of the council. However, that is not what he did. So I'm not making excuses. I'm just stating the fact. So I will continue to sign proclamations for things like the 50th anniversary of this 501c3, the 20th of this, or the Transgender Day of Remembrance. I was told, that was political. It was not political. That was the statue that was dedicated that evening is in our front hall of the city council building, of the city hall here. It was done out here on the steps, right here in front. 4 of the 5 council members, or maybe 5, I don't remember, were there. It was not a demonstration. There was no signs. There was no political speeches. There was no denigrating of other people. It was a very solemn expression of people who had been murdered because they were transgender. That was not a political event. I did sign that proclamation very happily. So I appreciate your opinion. We're all entitled to them. But in this case, I think I've been impugned unfairly, and I take personal umbrage to that, and that's why I have exercised a point of personal privilege. Sure, go ahead.
I understand what you have just said. On Tuesday of the week of the March, Mr. Noble approached you to ask for a proclamation. That left 3 full working days, including a day of city council, that you could have consulted with your colleagues, but you did not make any effort at any time to consult with any of us as to whether or not that proclamation should be issued or should not be issued. And you had very good reason to know, based on comments that had come from this dais regarding our feelings on gun issues, that there would have been a significant number, if not a majority, if not everyone other than yourself, who would have been anxious to sign that proclamation. As it turned out, Councilmember Coors did sign the proclamation. I think you made a mistake in not signing that proclamation, but you absolutely made a mistake in not consulting with your colleagues as to whether that proclamation should or should not have been signed.
I respectfully disagree with you on that. At one point, I probably should have brought it to the full council. However, this came from Mr. Richard Noble. And we all know that Mr. Richard Noble is continuously pummeling us with requests for proclamations for various causes, which he does. Many of them which are good causes. However, if you will recall, that was the same time we were all wrestling with the first introduction of the districting, and that was first and foremost in my mind, and I did not think about bringing it to the council. But again, I go back to my point. If Mr. Noble wanted us to approve this as a council, he could have come in here because he knows how to do it. However, by not doing it, he was able to get a lot more mileage out of this. And I take personal umbrage to you, Councilmember Middleton, because I understand when the lie was told that the city council had approved a proclamation and I refused to sign it, that you were standing there. In fact, you made a speech and you did not correct that statement.
I was not speaking at the time that the crowd erupted on that. I, on behalf of the majority of the city council, very proudly stood at the front steps of City Hall and welcomed the individuals on behalf of the majority of the city council. And I can repeat to you my entire speech. On behalf of the majority of the city council, I welcome you to City Hall, period. On behalf of all of us over the age of 60, I welcome you to the fight. At that point, I stepped back and was away. If we're going to talk about lies, let's also talk about a statement that you made in the media saying there was a policy on this issue and Mr. Noble knew it when there is no policy on proclamations.
If the Desert Sun said that, I'm sure it must be true. But I told him that was not my policy on it.
And it was your policy. It is not council policy.
I am the mayor, and I sign proclamations. That is my policy. The mayor can make decisions on what proclamations.
And you can do so on behalf of the council.
It does no good to sit here and argue about this. My point is, this proclamation was not brought by a council member. This proclamation, Mr. Noble did not come to this dais here, which he frequently does, and make the request of the entire city council. You're attacking me for something I chose not to do instead of something I did do. So we'll just have to agree to disagree on this. Okay, our next speaker is Sid Craig.
Changing the subject.